Check, check.
Yes. All right, we're going to go ahead and convene the Education Committee meeting for March 20th, 2024, and we will move into recess. All right, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting of the Education Committee. Today is Wednesday, March 20th. We are now recording, so we will now reconvene the Education Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 20th. Open it up to remarks by chairs and rankings. Senator McCrory.
Oh, how you guys doing this afternoon? Looking forward to not seeing you again after today. I'm so honest. I'm so honest with you all, but we have to come back. We will convene. We will reconvene to get the business done for the people of the state of Connecticut. So with that being said, I'm gonna pass it to my co-chairs on the right.
Senator Berthel.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you. As Senator McCrory alluded to, this is hopefully our final meeting. We'll finish the work that's before us with the exception of referrals. We have a pretty robust agenda, as you all can see. And I just want to put onto record, as I routinely do, that a no vote on any of these bills today does not necessarily suggest a complete disagreement with the legislation before us, but instead perhaps a concern about an unknown fiscal note. Many of the bills we have today will be referred directly to appropriations for, again, the full scrutiny of the Appropriations Committee with respect to the spending that may be involved in that. So I hope no one will leave the room thinking that if I vote no on a bill, it means that I totally disagree with or hate the bill. It's just that I have concerns that we're not able to work out through the process of this committee meeting today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And let me begin by saying what a pleasure it is to see almost a full committee here today. It's nice to see everyone. And of course, all of the individuals that are here to listen to education. I think this is one of the most important jobs that we can do in the building. And I'm looking forward to the discussions today and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And so before we get started with the items on the agenda, there was one omission. So may I have a motion to open the agenda for the limited purpose of adding HB 5347, an act concerning the authorization of state grant commitments for school building projects and revisions to the school building project statutes.
I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to move that item to our agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Representative McCarty and a second by Senator Berthel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
May I just ask you what
sorry,
order,
my apologies.
where will that be on the agenda?
We will place that item last.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, appreciate that. And again, apologies for our error on that agenda item. So moving along to bills for review, item number 1, Senate Bill 381, an act concerning the teacher profession and revisions to the mandated reporter requirements. May I have a motion to JFS to appropriations LCO 3314?
So moved.
I have a motion by Representative McCarty, a second by Senator McCrory. So this is our educator bill for the 2024 session. Start with what was taken out from the original proposal. We struck the old section 6, which had to do with the retired teachers and the change in their elections. Section 7 of substitute section 8 of the original bill restores part of the state education arbitration panel that consists of impartial arbitrators. We strike section 9 of the original bill, which made a redundant change. We clarified that a preliminary inquiry by a mandated reporter does not constitute a board investigation. Also, we added DCF training. So there are a number of provisions within this bill that include minimum salaries for educators that would be funded through subsidies at the state level, not at your local Board of Education level. This also discusses allocating $55 million in ARPA federal dollars, not your local or state funding, to provide $1,000 recognition payments to educators for those who taught during the 2 years of COVID. We add a certified teacher to the Governor's Workforce Council. There is an ongoing discussion with the Office of Workforce Council as they want to make sure that they are ensuring that they're not out of compliance with the federal regulations around who has to be on that particular board. But I think with all the attention and the conversations around the educator shortage, it seems to make sense that the educators is a workforce that we should be talking about and should be represented on that board. We update Cactopus, the Teachers Council for Teachers Professional Standards board. So we have removed the language around teacher certification and education prep programs from that council because that is being moved into another body that we will discuss later with respect to certification. We've added a few different charges to that particular body. This came to us by way of a number of our educators on the education committee as we continue to try to add additional voices from educators in the process, given that they are the experts with boots on the ground in our classrooms. The arbitration and the termination process, if you remember, this is very similar language that we had last year up for discussion. These sections of the bill obviously are I shouldn't say obviously, are ongoing conversations with the committee and with our teachers and with our boards of education to see if there is anywhere to land there with a compromise. And then with respect to the mandated reporter, you heard from DCF, you heard from the superintendents, you heard from the teachers who all worked collectively on this. We had another meeting following our public hearing with the Office of the Child Advocate to take into consideration some of their concerns as well. So I think we landed in a really good spot with respect to the updates to the mandated reporter language. For those who were not here or unaware, this has become an overly burdensome process for DCF, given that educators are now simply calling if a child brushes up against them in fear of retaliation or losing their job. And so that is essentially clogging up a system where only 4 to 6% are actually brought to the level of full arbitration and found to be in some sort of violation. So hopefully this will provide DCF that relief, but also still ensure that educators and those within the schools are protected the way in which they need to be. And I think I will stop talking at you and see if there are any questions or concerns. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You did a nice job going through the entire proposal. Just if I could have you repeat, so there are pieces in here on the arbitration and the teacher contracts. Will there be ongoing discussion between the different entities as we move forward with language in the bill?
Yes, absolutely. I think last year what happened is this was pulled at like the 11th hour on one of the last days of session because we didn't have that opportunity for those discussions. So we look to have those shortly after the committee process comes to an end.
And if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Chairman, could you please just go over very briefly what we mean by a preliminary investigation with a teacher in prior to submitting a mandated report? What is that about? What does it actually do? And was the Office of the Child Advocate and DCF behind that change in language?
Yes, that was a result of the testimony that they provided and the additional conversations that were had after our public hearing to ensure that we weren't creating a misstep in the process.
I thank you for that clarification. And then this bill, again, and I think was said in the beginning, this bill will go to appropriations.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Representative Poulos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Due to the provision in Section 2 of the COVID-19 recognition payment of $1,000 to certified Connecticut school public teachers, I'm going to pass on my vote on this bill because I don't want the perception that I'm gaining personal interest in this vote. And if in fact the provision makes it through to the legislature and is signed by the governor, I publicly want to state on the record that I will donate that provision to Southington Public Schools.
I appreciate the comment, Representative Poulos, and for clarification purposes for those in the public, it is not a requirement that members of the Education Committee who are educators abstain or pass on this particular vote because they do not financially benefit different than anyone else in their class. But every member of the committee is going to make their decision based on their individual circumstances. And so I appreciate that comment, Representative Poulos. Any other Representative Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like my good colleague from Southington, I also serve as a public school teacher in the state of Connecticut. And so I intend to pass with my vote on this bill, albeit this bill, I believe, is a very good one. I do not want there to be any appearance of any impropriety or financial gain on my behalf, so I will be voting pass on this.
Thank you. Representative Napoli online.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank our leaders of this committee. This is a very good bill. Like my colleagues, though, I will be passing on this bill. The city of Waterbury actually gave our teachers $1,000 of COVID funds, and so I certainly don't think that I deserve another bump, but teachers all across Connecticut do. So I thank the leaders of the committee for their good work on this, but I'm going to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Napoli. Any other questions or comments from Representative Cooley? Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Concerning section 1, I do have concerns. In almost all union contracts, you have escalator clauses, and I have concerns how section 1 will be impacting escalator clauses for contracts for all school districts. So I'll be voting a no on this just as a red flag so that as it moves forward, we're aware of that and that is factored in. Thank you.
Appreciate those comments, Representative. Any other? Representative Belinsky. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you for the inclusion of the consideration of retired teachers on that TRB. It's something that we've tried legislatively on a couple of occasions, and I'm, I feel that Connecticut needs to keep its promises, and their representation is very important to them, and thereby important to me. I do have some concerns. It's section 1. If you would, my memory tells me that we've paid ARPA hero pay to our, to our educators, perhaps even more than once. Can you refresh me as far as past payments that we have made, and with COVID being sort of part of our past at this point, why we're revisiting the hero pay thing for our teachers, but not the folks, in private sector who went to work every single day, not knowing what the heck it is they were about to breathe.
I believe there is the understanding that our educators had not been compensated yet with respect to any sort of hero pay, as we want to call it. And so this was another attempt, as we did last year. Last year, it was more focused on the credit for retirement. This year, it's a proposal for a flat out payment.
Thanks for that clarification.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Howard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I got to tell you, section 3 is something that I can align with. And I just want to say that during the time that we as a state told our teachers that they had to transition to this remote learning, we put a tremendous amount of work on them, far and above what they had signed up for, what they were prepared for. And I think the teachers in the state met that demand. And I think for us to allocate that ARPA funds to teachers in recognition of the efforts that they put forward, any of us who did Read Across America by Zoom gained a quick appreciation for what those teachers are going through, especially at the lower levels. So I don't really have an issue with that. And I think that doing that boosts the morale of our teachers in this state, which brings me to my problems with section 1. I think it's outside of the realm of this legislature to mandate minimum salaries in union contracts. And for that reason, I oppose it. I recognize our teaching shortage. But I want to tell you a very brief, because we have a long day, story about a first selectman in one of my towns who recently has recruited 3 and maybe 4, but I'll say at least 3 for the record, so I'm not inaccurate. Highly trained professionals to work, highly qualified professionals to work in different places in his town hall that took significant pay cuts to come there because of the work environment that he has created for them. Because that's what the job market right now, a lot of individuals are looking for a positive, comfortable and healthy work environment. And I think if we're going to try to get serious, because I think that this isn't all that serious in my opinion, because I think it's probably going to go appropriations and not make it much further if we know what's going on over there. If we want to get serious about the teaching profession and teacher recruitment and retention in this legislature, which we need to do for the next generation, I think we need to start taking a hard look at the environment that we're creating for our teachers when we put mandate after mandate after mandate on what they need to do in their classroom, instead of saying, hey, you signed up. And we just heard from 2 sitting here today, teachers who I have the utmost respect for. They demonstrated their character and their integrity. They've demonstrated time and time again in this committee, like many teachers in this state, how capable, how trained, and how qualified they are. And I think what we need to do is this legislature ought to take a step back instead of putting bills like this forward that we know really aren't going to make it, and say to our teachers, you know what? You're the professionals. You go teach, and we're going to get out of the way. And I think that's what we need to start doing. So I'm going to vote no on this bill today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Howard. And I'd like to think the committee is moving in that direction with the installation of the play-based learning last year, with the legislation this year of reimagining graduation requirements, with our mandate relief work. So I think we are collectively on that same track. So, and are you trying to tell me that on Read America Day that they weren't all just wide-eyed on you on every single screen on your computer?
Well, they were, because it was my sister's class. She's got them in mind.
Thank you so much, sir. Representative Zepkis.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Chair. Thank you. Good afternoon. And Representative Howard really said what I was going to say. I do see this as a mandate, and jokingly, but I think it should go in the mandate bill to get rid of the mandate that we're fixing to put on these people again. And so I won't be supporting it. I think how far it will go out of appropriations, but I would just be curious if you have any idea what the fiscal note is to this. And I do have to give kudos to our colleagues. I think you're very, have a lot of integrity and respect, and I appreciate you passing on this when it affects you. But do you have any idea of a fiscal note?
No. So as this as any bill would typically runs through the process, we get a preliminary fiscal note when it goes through appropriations, and we would have a better sense at that point what that would be for the Office of Policy Management to provide that subsidies to our local districts.
Thank you. And again, I think there are some good pieces in here, but I do see it as a mandate, so I will be voting no.
Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments from members? I don't see anything online. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call vote on SB 381, LCO 3314, JFS to appropriations. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory.
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
No.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative, yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Representative Belinsky's a no.
Representative Brown,
Representative Brown passes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chaleski, Representative Comey,
Yes.
Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
No.
Representative Dauphiné,
Dauphiné votes no.
Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello,
Representative Fonsello votes no.
Representative Jenga,
Yes.
Representative Gibson.
Representative Gibson votes yes.
Can you get your camera on, Representative?
I have to put at the end then.
Okay. Representative Haynes,
Haynes votes no.
Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
Howard, no.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson is yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson is yes.
Representative Kennedy, Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney, Representative Mara, Representative McGee, Senator Miller, Representative Napoli,
Representative Napoli passes.
Representative Paris,
Representative Paris votes yes.
one more time, Representative.
My apologies. Rep Paris votes yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Poulos,
Representative Poulos passes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Reddington Hughes votes no.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes no.
Representative Smith, Representative Welander,
Representative Welander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
No.
Rep. Chalesky, did you get a chance to vote? I know you walked in.
Thank you. Rep. Chalesky votes no.
All right, we will hold votes open. We will see how long the meeting lasts. We likely will do an hour after we're done, but okay. So moving along to item number 2, House Bill 5435, and that concerning the development of a plan for the conversion of the State Board of Education to an advisory board within the Department of Education. May I have a JFS to the floor, LCO 3213. I have a motion by Senator Berthel and a second by Representative McCarty. So the only change from the public hearing to now is that we've extended the date by which the commissioner must submit the plan to the Ed Committee from January 1, 2025 to January 1, 2027. And again, this bill will consult with the SBE to develop a plan to convert the Board of Ed from an SDE department head and move them to an advisory board within the State Department of Education, and authorize and empower the Education Commissioner to become the State Department of Ed department head. Is there any discussion or questions on this? Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If you could just, this is just a plan at this stage where the two would be working together, SDE and SBE, but in general, would this change, if this were to occur, would that in fact give more authority to the department, to the commissioner? If you would just like to explain the intent of the proposal.
Yep. So this would essentially eliminate or remove a layer of bureaucracy that may be seen as unnecessary. Our Commissioner of Education is technically the Secretary of the State Board of Education and is not a commissioner of an agency the way in which other commissioners are in the state of Connecticut. The various charges to the State Board of Education are also being proposed to be moved out from under them with respect to teacher certification, ed prep programs. We're going to talk about that a little later on with our certification bill. But they will be there as an advisory panel to be able to work with the State Department of Education still. It's just that the commissioner would no longer need to go through them for any sorts of approvals and the like. And yes, this is a plan.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation.
Senator Berthel.
Mr. Chair, if there's no objection, I'd like to make a motion to begin a consent calendar.
Are there any objections to the creation of a consent calendar? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair, I would ask that we place this item on the consent calendar.
Are there any objections to placing this item on the consent calendar? Seeing none, so placed. Moving along to item number 3. House Bill 5436, and that concerning educator certification. May I have a motion to JFS to the floor, LCO 3247?
So moved.
I have a motion by Senator McCrory, a second by Representative McCarty. So first and foremost, a thank you to the Commissioner Russell Tucker for convening the Education Certification Council that has been meeting on a regular, or that had been meeting on a regular basis with all interested and affected parties from the earliest learners all the way up to our institutions of higher ed, to see how we can reimagine our educator certification process and provide 3 distinct pathways forward, and clean up a lot of old language, language that is simply not aligned to what is currently happening. We talk about the repealing of a lot of the regs to remove things from regulations to be able to empower the certification process to remain nimble and be able to react quickly to the ever evolution or evolving profession of education. So I'll start with the S language. Yeah, so the only thing different essentially from what was proposed at the public hearing is that we've added in the repeal of the regulations. We put the date set at July 1st, 2025. We do know that there was some hesitation on the commissioner's part with respect to that. So this will be part of an ongoing negotiations, as all bills will be, with the department and with the administration. We have in this language created a new entity that is going to work alongside currently the State Board of Education and the Department of Education. So this is the Connecticut Educator Preparation and Certification Board. Other states also have similar entities that are responsible for certification. Having sat in all of these meetings over the last 9 months or so and hearing all of these folks provide their input and be very deliberate about those who are being placed on this board, I believe that we have a really great group of folks who are going to best inform this process moving forward. And I know that any and all of them are happy to speak with any of the committee members at any time to see how their work is going to shape up over the next couple of years. I'm happy to go through all of this or open this up for questions or comments. Representative Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to apologize for not addressing this in our earlier opportunities. But on starting in line 416, where we talk about the endorsement to teach elementary education grades 1 to 6, and then shall be valid for grades pre-K to 6. So in the Early Childhood Caucus on Tuesday, we discussed the legislation, and our early childhood educators are extremely concerned that this will really put a damper on those that are able to teach in the preschool system, and then without using the word poaching, moving those folks up, and then in essence, continuously, as we've done for decades, leaving our early childhood educators behind. So as we move forward, I'm willing to have a conversation to try to fix this and see what we could do. I'm willing to support the legislation getting out, but this is extremely important to this group of folks. And they do not want to see the early childhood educators to have more and more and more divide. And I would be remiss to say that as we, in the prior bill, we give $1,000 to the public school educators, but we didn't do anything for our early childhood educators. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this was a discussion had with the council members, including those from OEC and the ed prep programs and the K-12 folks. And I know this is something that we've gone back and forth on, whether in statute it was included, not included, was included. And so this was something that all agreed to for discussion purposes and for the bill moving forward. So we're happy to continue those discussions with you and others interested.
I appreciate that. And so I do hope that the folks that are making those decisions could actually maybe have a conversation with our early childhood educators.
Absolutely.
That are meeting every week to say, hey, look, they're really concerned about their profession. So thank you.
Absolutely. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the same concerns that Representative Cook just talked about. And so I'm going to vote on the bill to move it forward in hopes that we will have some continued conversations in regards to preschool education.
Thank you, sir. Representative Comey.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, I too share my concerns with with my colleagues. As a member of the Early Childhood Caucus, it's not too long ago that we had worked on policies that were able to bring to change the certification and bringing people into teachers into the early childhood field. And it takes a while for these higher education programs to get up to speed and to be offered to offer these programs. So, I would hate to get in a position where we are having to come back and fix this at a later time. So let's have those conversations now. And I too will vote to support it, but only to further the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Valinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of concerns about this bill as well. In particularly in section 10, I believe it's page 24, line 745, we promulgate the constitution of a board. And there was testimony in our public hearing and some in writing that asked for the inclusion of representative of the Office of Dyslexia and Reading Development to just have a seat at that particular board's table. I would like to be part of the conversation, or at least just put a marker in allowing my good ranking members to discuss that at length with you, because the advocates around the state and I are concerned about just having that presence. So with that in mind, I'm a little torn. I may be a no, with the very great expectation of being a yes as it comes through. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. And I think we would be doing a disservice as a legislature that after, 10 years that you and I have been here and spent, I think, moving dyslexia legislation forward, that not recognizing that their work is included in this. I think that's important. I do think that there may be some misunderstandings around the role of this board and working in conjunction with the State Department of Education, in which that office sits, which gives them a voice at that table. But I look forward to continuing that conversation with you, sir.
That means an awful lot. Thank you very much, Mr.
Absolutely.
Chairman.
Representative McCarty.
I just wanted to thank Representative Valinsky for his comments and to assure that we're working naturally to preserve all that work that went on with dyslexia, and it was not in any way meant to shortchange what has already occurred over those years. And in statute, that is preserved in statute, and there's no intent to change that, and it still will stay with the Department of Education working with the board. But I appreciate your comments, Representative Valinsky, and of course the good chair, to be able to confirm that fear that you have. So thank you. Yeah.
Representative Valinsky.
We understand the context of the greater bill, and I believe that the solutions don't necessarily even have to include this bill, because we also have a technical revisions bill before us. So I just we have more than one opportunity to bring everybody to the table, and I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments from Representative McCarty?
Sorry, I had my light. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to, if I could, go over just for a moment. So there are a number of changes that we're looking in certification for our teachers going forward. And I've asked this question at the hearing, and I just would like to ask it again for the benefit of the committee members, that by looking at this certification, which has not really been looked at in almost 30 years, I think we're looking within the next year, I think, to sunset some of those outdated regulations, not actually touching some going forward of the new pieces that we're talking about in certification, that will go over to the board. That will lead me to the next part. But could you just confirm that first?
Yes.
Okay, so that's important for everyone to understand that right now it's just removing all those old regulations that don't do any good by sitting there. Secondly, some of the changes for certification from 4 through 12, and I think we had that discussion to just talk to some of the fear that may be out there that you'll put secondary teachers into a 4th grade, but there would be some sort of training that would take place for those teachers. They wouldn't just go from, say, being in a 12th grade into a 4th grade without any kind of help, would they?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I do want to clarify the repealing of the regs. There are certain regs that are still actively used for regulations. And so this essentially would require and force that new committee to be able to make decisions to be able to replace what they have repealed.
Thank you very much. And then, because there's by no means anywhere in this bill an intent to diminish quality of our programs, particularly in our ed preparation programs. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. And as someone who sat in those meetings and listened to the educators voice their concerns and help to shape what this is, I don't believe that that would have been their primary goal in this work. So the answer to that would be no.
Thank you. And then there were some concerns about the development of the new board. Would you be able to briefly just talk about the makeup of the new board, how they're appointed, where they're coming from, what some of their duties, responsibilities might be going forward?
Sure.
think
So
that's in
that is
section
section 10 or 11.
Mhm.
Let me just turn there. No, you're good. All right, so for those, I'm sure at home following along, reading your bills as well. Line 722, section 10 is where we establish the new Connecticut Educator Preparation and Certification Board. And this board, it's clearly stated, shall be responsible for modernizing and aligning educator preparation and certification to ensure that policies are optimized to attract and retain effective and diverse professionals for employment in the state's public schools. And the folks on this board shall consist of the following members. We have 8 public school classroom teachers who are classroom teachers at the time of their appointment, 4 appointed by CEA, 3 appointed by AFT, and 1 appointed by the Connecticut Teacher of the Year Council. Doesn't necessarily mean the current Teacher of the Year. It just gives them the ability to appoint one. 6 representatives from an educator preparation program that has been approved by the State Board of Education. 3 appointed by the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education Connecticut chapter. At least 2 of whom are representatives from an educator prep program offered by public institutions of higher ed. 2 appointed by the Connecticut Conference of Independent Colleges, and 1 appointed by the Commissioner of Education, who's a representative of an alternate route to certification program. 5 administrators who are employed by local or regional Board of Educations as follows: 2 appointed by CAPS, which is our Superintendent's Association, 1 of who's the superintendent of a rural district, 1 who's a superintendent for an urban district, 2 appointed by the Connecticut Association of Schools, 1 of whom represents a suburban district, and 1 appointed by the Connecticut Federation of School Administrators. We have the Commissioner of Education or their designee, Commissioner of Early Childhood, their designee, Superintendent of the Tech System or their designee, and 1 appointed by the Governor, who's a representative of the Workforce Council, 1 appointed by CABE, which is our Boards of Education, a representative from the Increasing Education Diversity Policy Oversight Council, representative from the State Board of Ed, designated by the State Board of Ed, who shall be a non-voting member. And all those appointments will be hopefully made by August 1st, 2024. And so this was very representative of the group that was a part of the Commissioners Council, and I think was a good reflection of both public, private, rural, urban, and the various other organizations that were noted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to go over each one of those areas. And I think it really points out the comprehensive nature of this board, trying to include everyone, but particularly those individuals that actually do the work and understand what is needed in certification and in teacher preparation. So I definitely appreciate you taking that moment.
And if
there.
I could also
Mhm.
expand upon that answer, part of what you asked was their charge. And so I want folks
Yep.
to very clearly understand that this is a semi-autonomous body. We are not just simply delegating authority to this group. If you read further in sections 11, they shall have the authority to develop standards and proposals for regulations and legislations relating to educator preparation and certification. And then there will be a process in which they will have proposals. This will go to the State Board of Ed for review. They have the ability to reject or approve. And so just so folks know, this is not simply we're handing the keys over to somebody to be able to do something.
And I think that's important to note. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Senator Berthel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I appreciate certainly appreciate the work that has gone into getting us to the point that we're at today. I think what we observed when we were caucusing this bill earlier today was that there is still, despite the good effort and the good intentions here, there's still a certain level of discomfort with where we're at this point in time. And I'm not going to speak to how we necessarily resolve that today, because that's not necessarily part of the committee process for us to do that. But again, I'll go back to what I opened with when we started our meeting a few minutes ago, that a no vote on this is not necessarily throwing the whole bill to the side and saying, I'll never support it. I think it's just gives some of the members of this committee an opportunity to perhaps have some additional conversations in this very short session that we're in to get to possibly get to a comfort level and support this bill should it get to the floor of either chamber. So I just want to be on record for that and make sure that that's part of the understanding of what we're doing and what we routinely need to do in the committee process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no other questions, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Roll call vote on HB 5436, LCO 3247, JFS to the floor. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
No.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky votes no and looks forward to changing his mind later.
Representative Brown,
Representative Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chaleski, Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
Yes.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello,
No.
Representative Jenga, Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes,
No.
Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy, Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Mara,
Rep. Mara votes no.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller, Representative Napoli,
Rep. Napoli votes yes.
Representative Paris,
Representative Paris votes yes.
Representative Poulos,
Rep. Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Reddington Hughes votes no.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes no.
Representative Smith,
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander,
Representative Welander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
No.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a quick procedural matter we're going to take care of. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize, but we had an error and placed an item on our consent agenda inadvertently. So if you don't mind, we'd like to go back and take that consent agenda off and actually vote on number 2, which was with the state board, I believe.
Is there any objection to removing item number 2, House Bill 5435 from the consent calendar? No, seeing none, we'll remove that from the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, will you please call roll on HB, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Representative McCarty.
I'd like to make a motion that we have a roll call vote on HB 5435.
All right.
So move.
I have a motion and a second. That again, that's LCO 3213. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on HB 5435 LCO 3213. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
Yes.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Rep. Belinsky is a yes.
Representative Brown,
Representative Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chaleski, Representative Comey,
Yes.
Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
Yes.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello, Representative Jenga, Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes,
Yes.
Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominique Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy, Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Maroney votes yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes yes.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller, Representative Napoli,
Napoli votes yes.
Representative Paris, Representative Poulos,
Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Reddington Hughes votes yes.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes yes.
Representative Smith,
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander,
Representative Welander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
Representative Carney, were you able to get your vote in?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Representative Carney votes no.
Thank you, sir. All right, we move along to item number 5 on the agenda, Senate Bill number 380, an act concerning school discipline. May I have a motion to JFS to the floor, LCO 3297.
Second.
I have a motion by Senator McCrory and a second by Representative McCarty. So just to go through the language that had been changed in the substitute language. This clarifies in section number 1 that harm must be serious physical harm. It makes community-based diversion program status part of post-arrest written reports in section 2 and prohibits an informal or expulsion hearing when the person is in a community-based diversion program and found eligible for non-judicial handling. And clarifies in section 3 that the report goes to superintendent when the town does not have a chief who is post-certified. And any clarification for anybody who is following the agenda. So because 4 and 7 were listed as the same, we've crossed 4 out. So just in case, I mean, we don't necessarily have to go in order. We're just happening to go in order.
We did do that.
Yes, correct. All right. So that was all of the substitute language. And so this was brought to us by a number of advocates who were looking to update some of the language, especially around the suspension of pre-K to 2, and ensuring that they are not out of the learning opportunities for more than 2 days, and that they are provided with the necessary resources to ensure a seamless transition back into the classroom that both gets at the behavior of the student as well as the environment for the teacher, to ensure that there is the ability for everybody to return to hopefully what is a peaceful space. Also, with respect to the reporting and the requirements with expulsions, so we have anybody who sat on a board of education knows that they've sat through expulsion hearings of items that had not been yet adjudicated by the judiciary system, excuse me, the judicial system. And so while this legislation updates some of that, it does not remove the reporting to local districts if and when these incidents happen. It ensures that if students are sent through diversionary programs, that is also sent over to local districts, simply because if they're being provided additional resources outside of the school, you'd want to make sure that there's some sort of coordination if and when that child returns back to that school. And with that, I will open it up to any questions or comments. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much for that explanation of the beginning of the proposal. I'd hope maybe we can go, and I'm very favorable to the changes. I think we want to be sure that we're not doing harm to children that may be totally innocent of a behavior, and that we don't label that child coming back into the school, but we're maintaining safety and the superintendent is being notified. But I was actually going to go to the next section of the bill that talks about the school climate survey.
That's your
and-
jam, Representative. So I think that's you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm very pleased to see this in here, and I just want to reiterate, if I haven't enough times, that a lot of work went into looking to create safe school, nurturing school climates, and this survey provision came out with the discussion by many, many different groups, and we all came to accord that we want to have a good school survey put out, that everyone's voice is heard. The parents naturally have an opportunity. If they don't agree for any aspects, they can have their voices heard on the survey. But the intent is really to gather information from the school districts that represent and reflect their community and what they need to do in their schools. The idea to have a state standard set is to help the districts. It's not to impose anything from the state level onto the local districts, but to have a model ready for them. So they need to tailor it to their own district. Having a statewide coordinator also is meant to help the districts to have a model policy standards in place so that they can assist the districts in doing this. And then once you have the surveys out and you find what the patterns may be in your particular school, then you can work all together to do an implementation plan. The whole idea behind this is really to continue the work that went on last session to create good, safe school climates. And I think that's the goal of everyone, and to help those children that need the help when we can and early on. So thank you for that opportunity. I didn't mean to go off and talk too much about it. I just wanted to know if you were going to address that. Thank you.
No, we appreciate your leadership around that work as well as Mr. Nuccio over at the commission who helps to lead on this as well. And hopefully this will provide districts with a better path forward. Any questions or concerns by members? Representative Reddington Hughes.
Thank you. My question has to do in the section 1 that the school determined the behavior that caused serious physical harm. Why would it not be concerning if a child received any physical harm? I just don't understand why it's only serious physical harm. And how would psychological harm by an incident be measured as well? Because I think that psychological harm that was done to a student would also be very important.
So I think there's different degrees of physical harm. I don't know, a skinned elbow could be considered physical harm as opposed to a broken elbow. But I think if there is room for tightening up language, then hopefully after the committee process is through, we can sit down and have those conversations.
Thank you.
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I align my comments with that. In fact, serious physical injury as opposed to physical injury is defined in statute in our penal code. And I think that the concern becomes, and I recognize that we're dealing with K through 2 students, and I appreciate that, right? So I mean, there's only so much serious physical injury an 8-year-old can really, make happen, perpetrate, I guess, for lack of a better term. But we talk about school climate. We talk about the mental health of kids and kids that are struggling to go to school for varying anxiety-ridden issues, even at those young ages. And, right in this bill, we're concerned about school climate. But at the same time, we're saying if you have a first or second grader who is violent in the classroom every day with a variety of people, and, it causes concern for even students who weren't assaulted. So you have one student who's a 7-year-old who's sitting there and doesn't see violence in their home. It's very foreign to them. And they see one of their classmates come and be violent towards a classmate. And 2 days later, that student is back again. Now, we heard in public hearing that, well, perhaps the school is not meeting the needs of that child. And I would agree. And I think that we need to work collaboratively as a village to meet the needs of that child, but not at the expense of every other kid in the classroom, Mr. Chairman. And that is where I start to pause and say, I think that we do need to meet the needs of that child. But as I read this, that kid can come back to school to the detriment of every one of his or her classmates, perhaps before those needs are met. And then we're creating a ripple and residual effect. So I'll ask you, can you alleviate that concern for me?
I don't think anybody can alleviate that concern with 100% guarantee. I think that the districts would take all the necessary precautions to ensure that any student in any classroom is safe, first and foremost. And if that is potentially causing issue for a student to have another student return, that would be addressed on the local level.
But I'm not sure that they can here. And that's sort of my point. I think that we're being too restrictive, and it's not just the other students. I go back to my earlier comments and what we're putting on our teachers. And then we say, well, we don't have enough people that want to be teachers. So we have to legislate minimum pay to try to get more people to become teachers while we're creating a worse work environment for them. And that's, I just want to be clear. I get, as well as anybody in here, that you get a 5-6-year-old who has a lot of behavioral issues and whatnot. We as a society benefit to work together to get that child to a point where they can exist in a cohesive way with their classmates in class and hopefully as an adult in society. But we cannot do it to the detriment of our teaching profession, our schools, and the safety and well-being of every other kid in that classroom. And I think that in this particular piece of legislation, we are again being too restrictive on our local officials. And then instead of saying, let's let the principals and the school administration, the guidance counselors, and all of the individuals there to support these kids make these best decisions, because maybe this kid needs 4 days before he or she can come back to school in the interest of their well-being as well as everybody else. I think this is too restrictive. For that reason, I can't support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to respond to the good colleagues' comments. So last year we did a huge school climate piece of legislation. And the concerns that the good colleague is asking about is actually what we did in that bill last year. And it does put in parameters that it does put it into the hands of the local schools, but it also holds them accountable as well. So right now, what we have happening is in some areas, building administrators aren't supporting their educators. I would argue that there are kids that are in those age groups that can do some serious damage. And without identifying factors, I can tell you that I've seen and I know of those stories. So working with DCF, CEA, AFT, special education advisors and the like, last year we created an incredible piece of legislation for school climate and protection. That started this year and then more of it rolls out next year. But what you're concerned about was actually truly addressed in that piece of legislation. And this, from no account do I read it to believe, nor has it been brought to my attention with all the folks that worked with me in the last year or so to create that, override what we did last year. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's important that we are doing what you're looking for. So thank you.
Representative. Representative Zepkis.
Thank you. I was just following along with what my colleague had talked about with the climate survey, and I was not a big supporter of that bill last year. I don't believe that one size fits all, and this says this collaboration is going to, do the survey and they're going to put somebody there. And I think it should be completely a local level. People need to be held accountable. We don't want kids getting hurt in school, but, depending on the day, my daughter would love school and the next day she hated school. And so the day that she filled out the survey or I filled it out, I probably wouldn't fill it out with her. I probably wouldn't fill it out, to be honest, because I think it leads us in a direction for certain answers. But with that being said, and that is the reason I can't support this bill either, because I don't believe it's a one size fits all. And I think that the schools should be able to completely take care of their own. And if there are major problems, SDE would certainly know about it. So thank you.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that, I think when we're talking about developing standards and any sort of model plans, that is just that. And that it does allow, and I think that folks, including our ranking member, worked very hard to ensure that there was that local control that remained about developing those surveys. But I hear your concerns and have heard them for a couple of years now on this. So I appreciate those. Any other comments or Representative Johnson?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And this is a very excellent conversation. And I do appreciate the fact that we did look very carefully in last year's 5001. On the other hand, we still are in a situation where we haven't been fully funding our special education program. The excess cost is not being fully funded and hasn't been yet. And this is something that limits access to, even though it shouldn't, a lot of the school systems do not actually have the resources to address the special needs of the children. And when you look at what we have locally, if you go back about 30 years, the fact of the matter is many of the students 30 years ago or so were in the state's custody. Now they've been moved from the state's custody into the local community without the proper financial support. The state cost shifted these things all the way to the local towns, and that's where we are. And our state now gets the benefit of local communities that subsidize our special education programs to the tune of $1.6 billion. Our towns pay for that, and they should be fully funded. So while there should be enough resources in the way of making sure our students are cared for locally, the state also has a duty to be in compliance with the federal requirements for special education. This came from the feds. This is passed down from the state to the local communities. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator McCrory.
One speak. I'm listening to the comments from my colleagues, and I appreciate all the work we've done around school climate. Representative McCarty and that school climate committee, we did a lot of work last year to get us to a place where we have climates in our school district that work for our children and our families and for our administrators. And unfortunately, prior to that, we have left this up into the hands of the state and our local boards. And unfortunately, in our educational system, the only tool that our administrators had was suspension, was to put them out of school. We saw that for years. And that's why we set policy about 4 or 5 years ago, said you can't suspend kids from K to 2, because we know what happens to them. So I'm listening to all this good conversation I'm having, but I also listen to that child advocate, and I also look at the data in the state. I look at the data of who's performing well, who's not performing well. I look at the data when it comes to suspensions and expulsion, and all leads back to the same thing, the same system, the same setup we have, same creation that we had for years. So all the work that you guys been doing, we've been doing on school climate, I appreciate that. And we're trying to get an understanding of what we want to do is really help that child and help those families. And with this piece of legislation, we can actually go in, and when we see behaviors that we're uncomfortable with, whether it's I guess the term was used was fatal or not fatal, but serious physical harm, not serious physical harm, whatever the case may be, the reality is we want to fix this situation and put the tools in place of the educators and administrators to fix the situation, not to continue to give kids at a very early age when they're just being introduced to a system called education. And once they do something that they're not even aware they're doing, we put them out. We teach them that if you don't do what we want you to do, we penalize you. And this is the type of education you will receive in the public education system in the state. We want to prevent that. We want to stop that. And this is what this piece of legislation is trying to do. So if anyone don't understand that, I encourage you to go back and look at your data for the last 30 years in this state. And who's being penalized, and who's being punished, and who doesn't have the resources, who doesn't have the resources to financially support proper education in the system. I encourage you all to go back and look at that. So when we come here to work together to try to find systems in place and change policy in place to help those children, that's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to try to do. Because everyone's concerned. Everyone wants to be safe. Every teacher wants to be safe. Every administrator wants to have the tool sets that they can use and go to when they see a problem when a child is 5 years old, 6 years old. They want to be able to put in place, they want to go to their social service agencies to come into their school systems to help them children. That's what we're trying to move towards. If anyone doesn't understand that, again, I ask you to go back and look at the data, how this system is set up from the time these children are in the public school system to the time they exit out. And many of them are exiting out by 3rd grade. They exit out mentally by 3rd grade. They disconnected mentally by 3rd grade. Look at the data. So I ask you all to do that. And if this piece of legislation doesn't make somebody around here comfortable, then we have time to fix it. But we got to change the mindset up here and be realistic about what's going on in our state. Because it's not going to get any better based on the data. Who are we educating in our system? I just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Rep. McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the remarks heard today. Just like to emphasize that a good piece of the proposal is to look at having our schools work with restorative practices and really to help each and every child figure out what has happened, what caused the behavior, rather than just as Senator McCrory said, suspending, expelling the child, really getting to the root cause of the behavior and working with restorative practices so we can continue to have safe and good nurturing climates in all of our schools. Thank you. Thank you for that privilege.
Thank you, Madam. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on SB 380 LCO 3297 JFS to the floor. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
No.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky's a no.
Representative Brown,
Representative Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chaleski, Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
Representative Cooley, yes.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer. Representative Fonsello.
No.
Representative Jenga.
Yes.
Representative Gibson. Representative Haynes.
No.
Senator Harding. Representative Howard.
No.
Representative Dominique Johnson.
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson.
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy. Representative Khan. Senator Kushner. Senator Maroney.
Yes.
Representative Mara.
Mara votes no.
Representative McGee. Senator Miller. Representative Napoli. Representative Paris. Representative Poulos.
Rep. Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader.
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes.
Representative Reddington Hughes votes no.
Representative Roberts.
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez. Representative Robert Sanchez.
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara.
Senator Seminara votes no.
Representative Smith.
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander.
Representative Welander votes yes.
And Representative Zupkis.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, moving along, item number 6 on our agenda, House Bill 5417, and that concerning public school libraries. May I have a motion to JFS to the floor, LCO 3301. I have a motion by Representative McCarty, a second by Senator McCrory. That was a second, I assume. Thank you, sir. All right. So we'll start with what changed from the public hearing to now. So we've added the language about board policies and qualified complaints and make conforming changes to the language in the original bill. We've changed partisan approval or disapproval of any library materials by the board because that language was confusing to partisan content or views contained in any library material. We added the word "the" at the start of line 52. And we also in line 62 add reference to age, development, and grade level. So again, this is an act concerning public school libraries. This is not local libraries. This is your public school libraries. We've clearly defined in the bill what these library materials are, what a qualified complaint is, and working together with interested parties to ensure that it is clearly stated in here that we are not removing any sort of local control by schools and professionals to be able to develop said policies to handle this as they so choose. We are simply setting the bar and they can go above and beyond with respect to those policies. And also ensuring that those policies are reviewed and updated every 5 years. We do have the items 1 through 6, which is line 49 through 62, for reasons in which they may not be removed or restricted access. It's also important to note that nothing still prevents a parent or guardian or parent from filing a qualified complaint if they believe it is one of those items. Again, the local boards of educations will develop policies, as is one of the charges of a board of education, to be able to adjudicate these as they see fit. Representative Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the outline of the changes. Could you please explain what current statute is right now? Because I think that there's a misrepresentation out there with our local boards of education or public on what the actual current policy is. Do the librarians make the decision? Do the boards of education make the decision? I think clarification on where we stand currently before we move forward is extremely important.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So for anybody who sat on a board of education, they understand and know full well that they have never sat around a table to approve library books that were placed into school libraries. And so that is not one of the 5 statutory charges of a local or regional board of education. But one of their charges is to develop policies of which we are clearly outlining what that policy would be. That answer your question?
It does. So currently, no Board of Education has the authority, if you will, to sit around and dissect which book, but they do have the authority to develop a policy.
Correct. Books that are placed in your school, in the public school library, correct. They do have the authority to develop a policy,
So,
of which many have already done. We're simply codifying best practice within this legislation.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Representative Rader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad to see some of the changes made from the original language of the bill. I know my own superintendent had submitted testimony on this. I just have a question around the Library Material Review Committee, because right now it indicates that this committee will be comprised of the principal of the school, director of curriculum, or someone equivalent, a certified school librarian employed by the board, superintendent, and 1 or more teachers. So that's great. That committee sounds holistic. Will there be any board members invited to be part of that committee, or will the committee make a recommendation to the board? Or is the committee the final word on, the board establishes the policy, but it seems like the board is then pulled away from that committee. So I'm just curious, or is that not the case? And maybe I'm just misreading the language.
That would be up to the local Board of Education. So to
Right.
ensure there's continued local control, we include the language that says it shall include, but need not be limited to. So as long as they have those that we've spelled out in the legislation here, they're permitted to go beyond that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments on this? Representative Mara, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I'm reading through some of the changed language, and I have a feeling that, so if you look under number 6, that's one of the final reasons that, let me just, it says, no board shall remove or restrict access to library material because of any of the following. And if you just read through that and then say, you may not restrict access due to development and grade level of students. I'm not sure that that was added in the right place. I think that that was meant to be a reason to add, not a reason not to add, unless I'm missing that.
Say that one more time for me, please.
Okay, so in number 6, that should be reasons that you cannot add a book to the restriction list, right?
Correct.
And I believe adding in grade level of students and development of students was meant to be a reason that you
It's probably
could
it's a wordsmithing thing.
add it
Yes.
to the list.
Yeah, we probably wordsmith that a little bit better.
Right. And so, and actually maybe, in that same frame, it might be nice to add another category of reasons that you would add to the list, such as like vulgarity or age appropriateness, as you've already done here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to sit down after the committee process to talk that through to see what we can do to best get that tightened up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. And I do want to take a moment to, I had the opportunity to sit down with the Family Institute of Connecticut to review where we were at. And I think we are, because I think they were probably one of the more vocal groups around this. And we had a fantastic meeting, and I think we are very much more aligned than a lot of people thought we would be. But I appreciate the work that they did in helping us get to the point that we are today. But as Representative Mara has pointed out, we still have a little bit to go.
And if I could add just one other thing, I mean, I do like the idea of having an outline for Board of Eds, and we got to hear a lot of people talk about it. What I don't like is that I feel like this should be offered up as a suggestion of a best practice that you could implement in your school. I don't like it being put forward as a mandate. This is how it has to be done. So, thank you.
Noted. Any other questions or comments? Representative Reddington Hughes.
I'm just going to circle back to something that was said earlier, that this is just to codify something that already exists. If indeed the language and everything is the same as what already exists, I just am kind of in a quandary as to why this needs to become a bill.
So I believe that that comment was made, that we heard from a number of folks who testified that they have policies already in their districts, but that this isn't something that's universally done throughout the state. So that is why we have a policy before us today.
And making this a mandate is the only way to do this?
If we want to require this of every district, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Zupkis.
Thank you. This is a mandate, Mr. Chair.
This would be a requirement placed upon our State Board of Education to develop a policy.
Okay, that's a mandate. Hopefully it'll go into the mandate relief bill, but I will be a no.
Thank you so much. Representative Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the chairs and everybody who worked on this. And I see that with the change in language, this comes into compliance with PICO. But there's already a legal remedy if boards of ed go out, which is through the federal court system under First Amendment. If we pass this, we create a second legal pathway, which is the state court system, which is pretty much overburdened as it is. Since there's already a pathway to remedy a school board that's going too far, I'm not sure that we really need to create a second pathway, especially one that will be on the Connecticut taxpayers' direct costs. So I see this as it's been rewritten, essentially a solution to a problem that already has a solution, and I will be voting no based on that. But I do want to thank the committee overall for its work on this, but it comes into compliance with what's already under PICO and federal. So I don't really see why we need to open up the state legal system and court system for challenges that are already available through the federal. That's it.
Thanks, Representative. Any other questions or comments from members? Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I just, if I may, thank Representative Mara. I was going to point that section out and number 6, and if we can continue to work on that and get the language in accord with what we're trying to accomplish here, I would appreciate it. I know we had spoken about having certainty that a board could, in fact, come back after going through the process if the book was not age appropriate or that there was some objectionable material by the community or the parents, that they would now have a process that we are outlining here in this bill that they would be able to go forward, file the complaint form, have the committee review, and then go back to the Board of Education to take a vote. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I think in my view, anyway, and having served on a Board of Education for 20 years, I never, and I don't think it was particular to that board, there is a statute in place that the board lends its authority to the media specialists to go and choose the books, but there's a provision made so that if there's an objection to it that meets the law, that we can, in fact, have that complaint and then take a determination as to whether the book is appropriate. No one here, I don't think anyone in this room is looking to ban books or to have that in place, but we're trying to find a provision that parents and the community are allowed to object to something that may be outside of the law that they actually can object to. So I think that was our intent in working on this bill, to come together to have a compromise situation that met everyone's concerns. Boards of ed technically do not take that onto they probably could, but they give that's gone to the specialists, the media specialists, for a reason, and then comes back to the board if there happens to be a complaint. And the complaints are rare in our state. They're not, I mean, there are complaints, and that's why we believe having this process in place is going to help this provision. So that's the reason I will be supporting it, but I'm looking forward to continuing the work so that we get it in a good place. I don't think anyone here wants to keep arguing about what books can be placed in the library. Let's put something out so that we understand where we are and that we get this done properly for everyone in our state. And it certainly gives the parents a right and the community a right to object and to have a process in place that they can use to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank you, Representative McCarty and Representative Mara for their comments, and I'm in line with them. And because I had concerns with that section, but I will be voting yes on this bill to move it forward as long as we have further conversations.
Thank you so much, sir. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam. Oh,
Senator I just want to add, all the legislation we put forth, like I always say, it's policy we want to make. We listen to the public, we listen to ourselves, we listen to the experts, and there's nothing in stone until we get to a vote on the floor, right? So everyone's concerns still can be heard from this point on. We still have conversation that had to be taken place. And again, is our responsibility. This committee has always listened to the public. That's how we have governed ourselves ever since I've been here. And that's why we're so successful at getting things done. So again, this is none of the pieces most of the pieces of legislation are not edged in stone. And if there's some concerns, we'll have those conversations until we get to a place that we can make sure that everyone's comfortable. That's what we do. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. So I get it when someone doesn't want to vote yay or nay at this point. But at the end of the day, our goal and our responsibility and our obligation is to our children and our families and making sure we put good policy in place that doesn't handcuff them, but also don't take away their independence at the same time. So that's all I want.
Thank you, Senator. Right. Seeing nothing further, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on HB 5417, LCO 3301, JFS to the floor. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes. Sorry.
Senator Berthel,
Senator Berthel votes no.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky's a no.
Representative Brown,
Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chaleski, Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
No.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe, Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello,
No.
Representative Jenga,
Yes.
Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes,
Rep. Haynes is a no.
Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
No.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy, Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes no.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller, Representative Napoli, Representative Paris, Representative Poulos,
No.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes, Representative Roberts,
No.
Representative Roberts votes yes.
was that a no, Representative Reddington Hughes?
It was a no.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes no.
Representative Smith,
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander
Representative Welander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
All right, moving along to item number 7, House Bill 5437, an act concerning mandate relief. May I have a JF to appropriations?
So moved.
I have a motion by Senator McCrory, a second by Representative McCarty. There were no changes to this post our public hearing. So to go through the bill, we have established an educated professional development mandate review advisory council to advise and provide annual reports to the Education Committee on a number of ways in which mandates impact districts. There are 10 appointments on this, and they will report to us annually by January 1st. Also included in this bill, part of the conversations that were had at these monthly meetings talked about districts not having the ability to track the professional development of their teachers and their paras. And some superintendents saying that they simply had Excel spreadsheets that they were using and requiring districts to have teachers and paras do trainings every single year, even if they didn't have to, just as a way to kind of CYA. And so we are asking the State Department of Education to establish and implement a statewide database to collect and store the records of educator professional development and in-service training completion. We know that the State Department of Education is currently working on an updated system for their certification process. So maybe if we don't need a separate system, would they hopefully may be able to build off of that to include some of the tracking with respect to the professional development that we are requiring. And that will be important because in part of the language, we talk about the frequency in which that we're asking folks to do this and saying that it must be at least once every 5 years, but that's they will make their recommendations for what that looks like moving forward. And let's see here. We also have language with respect to the source separated organic material composting facilities. I think we heard from a number of our school business officials that this was something that was implemented without their consideration. And so they wanted to revisit this. And so there may be additional language that may even tailor this even more to K-12 education, because right now we're bracketing out education. And so that would also include institutions of higher ed, because we're not really sure that they would make those meet that, I think it's 26-ton threshold. So there's language in there about that. Also, if you remember, we have updated over the last couple of years the 2% that the boards of education are able to put over to a non-lapsing account at their on the city side of their of budgeting. Boards of eds are not allowed to have revenues, and so rather than requiring that they ask for this to be placed, we're removing the mandate that they ask, and this simply will be placed into that non-lapsing account that they can use for educational expenditures. We've also removed the requirement for the FAFSA to be done by those living out of state. This came to us from the endowed academies, who have a lot of out of country students. And it was our understanding that State Department of Education came up with a policy that required them to try and get in touch with international families 3 times before they could opt out. And so this was hopefully cleaning up that language for them. We also, if you remember last year, I believe it was last year, we took the credits, the 1 credit mastery-based diploma assessment, and we made that a may instead of a shall. And so since that's now a may, and we don't put graduation requirement, we don't have mays in our graduation requirements, we're just bracketing that out. It still doesn't remove the ability of a district to include that should they so choose. Again, we set the floor, but we also have the group that's looking at all of our graduation requirements as it is to see how we can reimagine those to provide more opportunities to our students. We have eliminated the requirement that the State Board of Ed give the Community Service Recognition Award to students who complete 50 or more hours of community service. This is now most often a requirement of graduation. So it's almost kind of like a participation award for something that you have to do. But we've also eliminated the prohibition on partisan political activities as counting towards community service. And I think when we have many conversations in this committee around, especially Representative Smith and Representative Brown, around civic engagement, I'm not sure that there's very few things that are more civically engaged in getting involved in the process that we all have the opportunity and privilege to be a part of. And so we removed that prohibition. And also it requires the student success plans that were created a few years back to give consideration to enrollment opportunities at our tech school system. This is again another way in which we're trying to make sure that our techs and the trades and different opportunities post middle school are highlighted for our students moving forward. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments from members. Representative Zupkis.
Thank you. I'm a little confused. I apologize. What is this bill number? Did we combine two bills? I'm missing something here.
5437.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Representative McCarty.
Thank you for that very detailed explanation of the proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could just go back for one moment, and I think this is the overarching goal in this proposal was to have mandate relief, which both sides of the aisle have been asking to look at this for many years. And I'd like to thank you and your leadership on really moving this along, and that this session we will have something in place to go forward with looking at that. But would this council continue to do work after this year? Would this mandate relief committee continue its work? And if you might just want to explain that, where we are right now at professional development and teacher training and looking to reduce what requirements we can there, what would be the goal going forward? Will this continue to go forward? And thank you for talking about the data system, because I think that's important, that you have teachers coming in and out, that they don't have to repeat the same type of development or training. If we have something in place that can track those teachers going from district to district, but just for the benefit of the committee to know that this is the beginning of the work.
Yes, absolutely. So in lines 57, we talk about how this not later than January 1st, 2025 and annually thereafter. So this will be an ongoing effort of this group to be able to come back to the legislature with recommendations and comments on any sort of existing mandates, anything that we may put in moving forward. And so as to not tie the hands of future legislators, we would now need to be intentional about if we do have proposals for additional mandates on our districts, whether that be financial, whether that be professional development, which are often tied to financial, that we are intentional about effective dates to be able to give this board the opportunity to be able to come back to us with their recommendations and their input as it pertains to those new proposed mandates.
Thank you for that extra clarification.
Thank you.
That's all I had. This bill originally, looked like, but not to make the same error, we'll ask if there are any more questions. We had thought it might go on consent.
Yes, Senator Berthel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is a direct JF to appropriations, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Can you speak to what is the anticipated purpose for going to appropriations? Where do we expect to see the need for an appropriation, I guess is how I would frame that.
So it would be in sections 2 and 3 potentially to require SDE to establish and implement a statewide database. So it would either be for the build out of an existing system or the potentially building off of a system that they are currently working on. So there's no definitive answer to that question, but there likely would be a cost regardless of where this was sent.
Okay, thank you. That was an issue of just question when we were reviewing this bill earlier. I don't know if any of my colleagues have any other questions, or if we can, we do. Representative Cooley, thank you.
Representative Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to go back to the elimination of the prohibition on partisan political activities, counting as community service. Well, I think it's important that students become involved. I do have a concern that partisan interests may use this to gather labor. I've seen this at the college level, in which professors get their students to engage in promotion or whatnot, based on the professor's political view. And I would I'm very leery on that, that the adults may use this as an opportunity to influence the students towards a certain political view, whether one side or the other, immaterial. I don't have a problem with the students being involved themselves, but I do worry on eliminating this, then we are opening up a can of worms down the road. So I kind of wanted to mention that, because I think that there are those, and we've seen more than enough cases where entrenched partisan interests have tried to game the system for their own purposes, and I would not want to see students being used in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. And we hope that those conversations would be happening internally within families, if that is something that students were looking to get involved with. And I do want to give a shout out to CABE, who was the entity that brought this work group together over the last, I don't know, 9 months, 8 months, 10 months, whatever it was. And for meeting on a regular basis to get us to where we are today, and for those who will be serving on this in the future. Thank you to them. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I too wanted to add my voice, if I may, to the CABE and to their leadership, giving us a place and continuing the work. And we're looking forward for their work to continue into the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Representative Johnson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I too want to support CABE's view on this. I think this is a great step forward for getting participation from our students. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Seminara online.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to offer my positive feedback. It's about time, and I'm so happy we're taking a look at this, and we're going to continue to take a look at this. So thank you very much for putting this bill forward.
Thank you so much, Senator. And with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on HB 5437, JF to approves. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
Yes.
Representative Leeper, Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky is a yes.
Representative Brown,
Representative Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chalesky,
Chalesky votes yes.
Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
Representative Cooley, and no, just as a red flag to my previous comments.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe, Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello,
Monticello votes yes.
Representative Jenga,
Yes.
Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes, Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy, Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes yes.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller,
Senator Miller votes yes.
Representative Napoli, Representative Paris, Representative Poulos,
Rep. Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes yes.
Representative Smith,
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander,
Representative Welander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving along to item number 8, House Bill number 5348, and that concerning para-educators. May I have a JFS to appropriations LCO 3285? I have a motion by Representative Jenga. I have a second by Representative Cook. I heard the voice, it was coming. So we'll start with what changed from the bill that came out originally. So it adds a new section 29 requiring school boards to pay the full employee contributions for SEMRS, which is the municipal retirement system, and requiring the comptroller to pay at least 50% of the employee contribution. So this is our, I guess, annual para-educator bill. We define in the first section, there actually is no definition of a paraeducator in statute. There's only a definition on the State Department of Educator's website that uses some of their own language mixed with some requirements at the federal level. So we are defining what that paraeducator shall have as far as requirements and their response. Oh, and their responsibilities, excuse me. We make a lot of conforming changes from paraprofessional to paraeducator. We've added several new items to the in-service training that they will now make available to paraeducators. So there was also a $1.8 million allocation that had been made through ARPA money for professional development for paraeducators. I think we asked the commissioner about that when she came before us, and she outlined her plan for that. So that's an ongoing conversation. If you remember also last year through the work of the comptroller's office and our leaderships, our respective leadership, that we were able to provide funding to our paras for some of their health savings accounts. So there is language in here that would also expand upon that to be able to provide that for not only that group of paras, but for all of our paras who are receiving receiving insurance. We also require the comptroller to conduct a cost-benefit analysis of each school board, providing coverage for employees under a partnership plan in lieu of the coverage provided by such Board of Education. And I think the intent there is to start having the conversation a whole lot more to see how we can move folks into the state partnership plan, which will likely be a more cost-effective model for our paras, which again are some of our lowest paid support staff in our schools. We do have the minimum salary requirement in here for paras set at $45,000. And again, as we did with the educators bill, requiring OPM to create the appropriation to be able to subsidize that at the local level. And I already mentioned the SEMRS. And with that, I will open it up for questions or comments. Representative Welander.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually have two questions, I guess, question common combos. The first is regarding the changes to the SEMRS program. I know that some of my towns are quite concerned about the current costs that are being incurred with that. And I just want to know if we could get any more information. I know this is a continuing conversation, but can we get more information about how this may affect those towns?
So the way this is written, that they would, as stated in line 1256 through 1263, that each local and regional Board of Education shall pay for each para-educator employed by such board the full employee contribution required pursuant to the municipal employees retirement system.
Okay. Would it be possible, do you think, to get more specific information for the towns that do participate on that, but what the cost might be?
So as this makes its way over to appropriations, there likely will be
Perfect.
more additional information provided at that level with respect to what that means. Also, as is the case with any piece of legislation, especially something to this magnitude with financial implications, this is a work in progress, and we will be working with all interested and impacted people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. And the only other concern that I had was regarding the changes in, excuse me, hold on, sorry, I'm going to pause.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong note. Is the allowing right now that this bill would allow boards of education to use ECS funding that is intended for the use of educating our students to potentially outsource the recruitment of paraeducators by hiring consultants or outside firms rather than doing it internally. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, please. Thank you.
Representative, I apologize, but do you present a question or comment?
I guess it was a concern, wondering
okay.
if we could continue this conversation to make sure that the money that is being state allocated for educational uses within our classrooms is not being used to supplement external sources in searching for educators and paraeducators instead of using that internally.
Yes, thank you. I think the concern there is that as districts use Kelly Services to fill vacancies or on a temporary basis, there may be the concern that districts are using outside third-party vendors to fill actual slots for paraeducators. So happy to continue that conversation.
Thank
Any
you
other-
very much, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Questions or comments by members? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on HB 5348, LCO 3285, JFS to appropriations. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
No.
Representative Leeper, Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky's a no.
Representative Brown,
Rep. Brown is yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney, Representative Chalesky,
Chalesky votes no.
Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
No.
Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe, Senator Flexer, Representative Fonsello,
No.
Representative Jenga,
Yes.
Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes, Senator Harding, Representative Howard, Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy,
Kennedy votes no.
Representative Khan,
Yes.
Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes no.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller,
Senator Miller votes yes.
Representative Napoli,
Napoli votes yes.
Representative Paris, Representative Poulos,
Rep. Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Reddington Hughes votes no.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes no.
Representative Smith,
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander,
Representative Welander votes yes.
Representative Zupkis.
Thank you so much. Moving along to item number 9 on our agenda, Senate Bill 363, and that concerning us. Oh, what did I miss?
No, I'm leaning into here, that's all.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it's,
your mic is on, that's why. Sorry. And that concerning assorted revisions to the education statutes. So again, Senate Bill number 363, may I have a JFS to appropriations LCO 3282.
So move.
I have a motion by Senator McCrory, a second by Representative Sanchez. All right, so we'll start with the changes from the bill that was before us for the public hearing. So we updated the language with respect to section 5, requiring the payments at the start of the school year for that outplacement excess cost. Section 8, the universal design of school playgrounds will be applicable to playgrounds designed on or after July 1, 2025, as opposed to 24. It removes section 9, which was the Regional Board of Ed Council. It removes section 10, the magnet school participation in athletics. And then it adds a provision on the Reading Leadership Implementation Council with respect to the terms of the members. So there's a number of items in this bill, starting with the addition of a recycling and renewable energy to the state's required program of instruction by way of our good ranking member, Senator Berthel and his colleague. We also require adding on to the work that we did to recognize the important work of our school nurses, requiring professional development, including an orientation that they get at the onset of their hiring. The nurses have made it very clear to us that their job is very different in a school setting than if it is in any other kind of medical setting. And so to ensure that they have everything they need to know at that school setting, they will get that orientation right at the beginning of their employment. We talk about the delay of the audits from December 31st to January 31st for districts, and then correspondingly, the delay by which SDE must annually publish that on their website. We talk about the payments made to Board of Educations for expenditures for private providers who have not yet been approved. So essentially, if you have a student who is at a school that is waiting to be approved by the State Board of Education for a special ed provider, that process seems to take longer, quite a bit of time. And so essentially we would ensure that the payment would be retroactive to when that student was placed there, as opposed to the day in which SDE approved it, because I don't think we want our students going, 4 or 5 months without the districts being compensated accordingly. We changed the may to shall with respect to funding CERC. We continue to work with respect to what we did last year with EdTPA and the decoupling of that and the certification. And so this year we are decoupling that from the completion of a program. This is not saying that a institution of higher ed and EPP is still not able to use this. We're just saying that this is not now required for program completion. This also will likely be part of a discussion that the folks on that council that we created in the certification bill will also be talking about moving forward. We talked about the school playgrounds. The Reading Leadership Implementation Council members' terms expire now on June 30th, 24, and that subsequent appointments be made by July 1, and requires that members serve 2-year terms and allows them to be reappointed. With that, I will take any questions or comments. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think there are many good provisions in this proposal. If I may just go back for a moment to the school nurses and nurse practitioners. So they will have an orientation for school service, but was this a request that actually came from the nurses moving
Yes.
forward?
Absolutely.
Yes, and they'll have a certain amount of time in which to complete that orientation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. A few more on the, let's see, I can have just a moment. Oh, I did
Not
want.
later than, just to follow up
Yeah.
on that question, not later than 6 months after the school nurse has been appointed or entered into contract with such board.
Okay. If I may go to the beginning sections of the bill, and I think this is my understanding, we may need to look at a language change there. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the recycling and renewable energy was piece to be put into the state's required program of instruction. Originally, if I hear properly from the introducer of this to the committee, had intended for that to be a may, not a shall. So if you could take that into consideration moving forward, how we can work with that. I think if it's meant to be in a required instruction, then it may have to, take on a whole different light, I believe. But can you make note of that only because I
Yeah.
heard that today?
Absolutely.
So-
And I would just offer the response that much like the conversation we had with the proponents of the language around the Greek genocide, we typically don't put mays into the required program of instruction because those are all shalls. But nothing prevents anyone from having those conversations at a local level to see how they may be able to get those into their local programming.
Right, and thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I also, on the Reading Implementation Council, will there be an opportunity, just questioning, for new membership on that council?
Are you asking if we're
Yeah.
adding new members or if members
If-
could be switched out with other
Right,
members?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't see anything that prevents that from occurring.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Zupkis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just clarify what you just said, please, about the requirement of recyclable and renewable energy? But I'm not sure that I heard you. What I think I thought I heard you say was it is required, but local board of eds can decide if they want to use it or not?
No, so typically in in the statutes with respect to the program of instruction, we say in the public schools, the program of instruction offered shall include at least the following. So we don't typically include any like mays in there. It's all a shall. So anytime there's a may, that's something that can be handled on a local level. It just wouldn't be placed within this particular statute.
So that's a mandate to make them require it.
The way it was proposed to us, but yes,
So the way it is in here says they shall require it. I mean.
the way it
require
stands in the bill today,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my second question is about another mandate in here, is about the school playgrounds.
Yep.
What is the principle of universal design? And are there schools that even have that now? Or what is that, please?
Yes, so actually, a great group of local advocates in East Hartford actually stood one of these playgrounds up at one of our elementary schools. This is the most accessible type of playground so that all children have access to a playground.
So if a school can do that on their own, to me, this is a mandate saying they have to do this universal design, but maybe my school doesn't have that design, but is accessible. So will they have to change it?
No, it would be anything moving forward. Any new playgrounds built after July 1 or approved July 1, 2025, they would have to follow the universal design.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any Representative Wieelander?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question regarding the membership of the Center for Literacy Research, Reading Success, and the council. Looking through who is listed as the potential members, it doesn't look like there are any certified public school teachers that are included on that. And I was thinking that if we are asking this group to talk about what is the best way to implement literacy policy moving forward in our schools, we should have public school teachers.
So I will say that I hear you. And I will say that if you look in a number of the requirements that we say that these folks have to have experience in literacy or education, that is not to say that we can't have additional conversations to see how to best strengthen that. Board, council, which one are they? They are the council. But yes, we can have those conversations.
Thank you so much. I think it's really important to have literacy specialists and public school teachers involved in this conversation moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and there currently are literacy experts on that body. So I just want to make sure that folks don't think that we have this entity that doesn't exist with those, without those.
Thank you.
Representative Reddington Hughes.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question going back to the playgrounds again. What is the difference between what you're suggesting here and ADA compliance? Because I thought that already existed.
So this actually goes a step beyond that. So ADA compliance is kind of a minimum. This
Okay.
actually makes it even more accessible to even more children.
So that would make them outdated, right?
They wouldn't need to update those. This
Oh.
legislation just simply means that anything built after that effective date would have to follow the universal design.
So the ADA that was already in place, they would be seen as being in compliance until they upgraded next time.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Absolutely. Senator Seminara online.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Although I totally appreciate sections 1 and 2 being considered and added to the bill, I am going to flag it and vote no today because I would like to consider, or the committee consider, not making that a mandate. So I'm just making you aware that I'm flagging it and voting no. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we look forward to working with you, Senator Seminara, because I know this was a priority, but I understand the issue with the mandate. Any other questions or concerns with Senator Berthel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quickly, I think that there is still some concern amongst members regarding the what will inevitably be the fiscal note on this as well going forward. So some members will, as has happened already throughout the meeting, will flag this with a no vote until we can get that information back from appropriations. Thank you.
Sounds good. Seeing no other questions or comments, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on SB 363, LCO 3282, JFS 2 appropriations. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
No.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Let's would like to pass and come back to that one.
Representative Brown,
Brown votes yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney,
Representative Carney votes yes.
Representative Chaleski,
Chaleski votes yes.
Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley, Representative Dauphiné, Representative Felipe, Senator Flexer, Representative Foncello,
Moncello votes no.
Representative Jenga,
Yes.
Representative Gibson, Representative Haynes, Senator Harding, Representative Howard, Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy,
Kennedy votes yes.
Representative Khan,
Yes.
Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes no.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller,
Senator Miller votes yes.
Representative Napoli.
Rep. Napoli votes yes.
One more time, Representative.
Rep. Napoli votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Paris. Representative Poulos.
Rep Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader.
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes.
No, thanks.
Representative Roberts.
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez. Representative Robert Sanchez.
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara.
Senator Seminara votes no with a flag.
Representative Smith.
Smith votes yes.
Representative Welander.
Representative Welander votes yes.
And Representative Zupkis.
All right, moving along to, Representative Belinsky.
Thank you very much for your consideration, Mr. Chairman. Madam Clerk, Representative Belinsky, has a lot of concerns with the mandates, but, we're going to trust appropriations to, try to solve those problems for us. So I'm going to vote yes on the policy.
Thank you very much, Representative Belinsky. Moving along to the item that had been added at the start of our meeting. So this is House Bill 5347, an act concerning the authorization of state grant commitments for school building projects and revisions to the school building project statutes. May I have a JFS to finance LCO 3287?
Second.
I have a motion by Senator Berthel and a second by Representative McCarty. So we'll start with some of the changes from what you saw out of the public hearing. We corrected a typo. I don't see him here.
There he is.
We made various other minor changes throughout, requiring the estimate of total ineligible costs, also include itemization of those costs. We changed municipal use to public use. And we added an ineligible cost for the reasons why a construction manager are not entitled to additional compensation. We added requirements that DAS approval of consultant orders or contracts be in writing, and clarifies that Smart Start grants must be awarded upon approval of an application. We required the local fire marshal to provide an attestation. It said the state fire marshal previously. We add provisions shortening the time period for triggering a limited scope audit by DAS. And so section 1 is the school priority list that the school priority list committee met prior in January and approved. This is listed here in section 1. The rest of the sections are first and foremost an ongoing conversation with the Department of Administrative Services. And the intent around a lot of this language is to tighten up our school construction process. I think that those who have been intimately involved in this understand and recognize that there have been instances where it seems as though these projects may be open for much too long, may be running up costs that don't need to be run up, that for some reason documentation goes missing when they happen to stay open for so long. And then what ultimately winds up happening is that DAS works with districts to find out that the districts may be owed money by the state, or the other way around. And it seems as though that if we are going to ask the Department of Administrative Service to oversee the school construction process, that we should have a process that is tight and that gets schools built right and quickly, and that allows for ongoing conversations and the sharing of information, so that we don't have scenarios the way in which we do year after year after year. With that, I will open it up for questions or comments. Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If we could just for a moment, by the way, I think this, there's a lot of very good provisions in here, brings a lot more transparency to the process. Is something that has been looked at for quite a while, so I appreciate that. And also, I appreciate very much that the proposal has many incentives rather than penalties on various school projects. If you wouldn't just mind for a moment, just go over the areas where a school may be able to increase its percentage in construction costs. And then I have one other quick question.
Yes, so in section 6, current law has a 5 percentage point bonus rate for projects that include space for school readiness programs. This bill increases the bonus rate to 15% and broadens its availability to include early child care and education programs, providing services for children from birth to 5 years. We also make a bonus rate of 15 percentage points rather than 10 points for projects relating to the early reading success program or full day kindergarten or preschool in priority school districts or priority schools, and specifies that the overall rate cannot exceed 100%. And I think that builds upon the legislature's commitment to early childhood opportunities. And so if we want our districts to be able to build some of these opportunities out, then we should be doing what we can to incentivize them.
Right. And I appreciate that very much, and for your additional commentary on that piece that was needed. There was also in the bill a certain area that talked about the construction manager and costs and keeping that contained, but I know there is an exception to that, if I'm not mistaken. Can you please outline where perhaps a construction manager may take on a project, but then the scope of the project changes, or they encounter certain issues within the project? Does that construction manager at that point have an opportunity to talk about costs?
So we specifically spell out that this prohibits construction managers from receiving additional compensation beyond the project's guaranteed maximum price as a result of change order ineligible costs or other change directives. I'm not sure if we provide the caveat that you're talking about, unless you want to point to that for me. But again, these are the conversations that are ongoing with those in the field and those at Department of Administrative Services.
No, very, very good. You did point to the section in the proposal that discusses the contract management. But I was just curious as to whether or not and you said it very clearly that there'll be ongoing conversations as we look at certain provisions here. I'm very favorable to this proposal, so we want to move it forward. I'm just curious as whether we can talk about that particular provision a little more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
I mean,
you.
if a school becomes a whole nother wing and all that sort of stuff, I think those are changes the scope of the project. Yes, that would be a conversation to be had.
And I thank you for the work on this proposal. Again, it's been a goal to get more transparency there, and I think this bill does that. So thank you.
Thank you. Senator Berthel. Oh, not yet. Representative Wheelander.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a concern to share. While I am very supportive of the intent behind this bill, I do have concerns about the inclusion of state charter schools in the ability to apply for and receive grant funding, as well as additional reimbursement for these programs regarding HVAC and ventilation. I know that they are statutorily recognized as public schools within the state, but there is often a high amount of private financing that is available to them that is not typically accounted for, and our neighborhood public schools do not have those types of funds. And so when we're looking at a limited pot of money for reimbursements, I think that we should be taking that into consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I'd say those limited pots are limited only by what we say they're limited by. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote on HB 5347 LCO 3287 JFS to Finance. Representative Curry,
Yes.
Senator McCrory,
Yes.
Representative McCarty,
Representative McCarty votes yes.
Senator Berthel,
Yes.
Representative Leeper,
Yes.
Senator Winfield,
Senator Winfield, in the affirmative.
Representative Arzeno,
Representative votes yes.
Representative Belinsky,
Belinsky's a yes.
Representative Brown,
Rep. Brown is yes.
Representative Candelaria, Representative Carney,
Representative Carney votes yes.
Representative Chaleski,
Chaleski votes yes.
Representative Comey, Representative Cook, Representative Cooley,
Yes.
Representative Dauphiné,
Dauphiné votes yes.
Representative Felipe,
Yes.
Senator Flexer, Representative Foncello,
Moncello votes yes.
Representative Jenga, Representative Gibson,
Representative Gibson votes yes.
Representative Haynes, Senator Harding, Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Dominique Johnson,
Representative Dominic Johnson votes yes.
Representative Susan Johnson,
Representative Susan Johnson votes yes.
Representative Kennedy,
Kennedy votes yes.
Representative Khan, Senator Kushner, Senator Maroney,
Yes.
Representative Mara,
Mara votes yes.
Representative McGee, Senator Miller,
Senator Miller votes yes.
Representative Napoli,
Napoli votes yes.
Representative Paris,
Paris votes yes.
Representative Poulos,
Poulos votes yes.
Representative Rader,
Representative Rader votes yes.
Representative Reddington Hughes,
Yes.
Representative Roberts,
Representative Roberts votes yes.
Representative Emmanuel Sanchez.
Yes.
One more time, Representative.
Representative Sanchez, yes.
Thank you. Representative Robert Sanchez,
Representative Robert Sanchez votes yes.
Senator Seminara,
Senator Seminara votes yes.
Representative Smith, Representative Wieelander,
Representative Wieelander votes yes.
and Representative Zupkis.
All right, we will hold votes open until 5 o'clock. You can find Rosie on Zoom or upstairs in the education suite on the 3rd floor. So this is our last JF meeting. We finished with two meetings or 2 days to go, so we could have met Friday and Monday. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of the members of the Education Committee for all of your hard work and the time and energy that you've put into getting us to where we are today. I think we have a number of great proposals that we are going to continue talking about and moving forward. I do want to thank Megan Krementowski in the governor's office and Laura Stefan at the Department of Education, as well as Maggie Adair at OEC and Emmett Riley at the Tech School for their partnership and their help in work in getting these bills to where they are, as well as our fantastic education committee team led by the incomparable Rosie, and all of the time and energy that they have taken to make sure that we as cats are herded properly. With that, I'll turn it over to Representative McCarty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I too would like to make similar remarks to all the committee members. Thank you all for the work that you've done this session. I know, and the chair said, we'll continue to look at some of those proposals and try to get them in the best possible shape before they hit the floor, if they hit the floor. I'd also like to recognize and thank everyone in this building that helps us and helps education. I too echo those same comments, LCO, LOR, our wonderful staff upstairs, everyone that contributes to this. And if I may, in a closing remark, just say, I don't want to get too emotional, but, you know, I sit on this committee for a reason. And the reason is because I really care deeply about our children in the state of Connecticut. And I want the very best policy that we can produce here that's bipartisan in nature, that looks at what is in the welfare of our students in that best interest. And I will continue to do that no matter what it takes. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I thank all of you for your cooperation, your civility this particular session. Thank you.
Senator Berthel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative McCarty, for your comments as well. You know, I would add to that, you know, at this moment in time, in my own presence in the legislature, I serve as ranking on appropriations, this committee, and banking. But I always say that the most important committee in this building is this one. Because as the good representative just spoke to, we are entrusted, all of the legislators around this big oddly shaped desk are entrusted to make good policy decisions for the children in our state. And you're all on this committee for a reason, because I think we all, that if that is the common thread that runs between all of us, we can have great debates at this desk on how we feel about certain policies and how we're spending money and whatever. But I know, and I know many of you around this table on the left and right side of the aisle, and we've had these conversations, and it's our passion to do the right thing for children. They're the future of our great state. With that said, I would like to give a special shout out to our HRO and SRO staff, Sarah and Chris Zav. You guys keep us on the rails most of the time. You help to ensure that we are informed when maybe we don't have all the information that we need. You guys are over the top, so thank you. And as has already been stated, thank you to the nonpartisan staff. Chris, thank you. Noreen, thank you. John, thank you. Who did I forget? Sorry. Sorry, my apologies. Sorry? Gary, my apologies. Gary, thank you. And thank you to everyone who sits with us in the audience, the stakeholders, if you will. You're all here for a reason. And again, I hope that we're doing the right thing by all of you. And it'll be very interesting to see how much of the work we've done through today gets to the floor and out and becomes law going forward. But thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak for a moment.
Absolutely. And I think I left off the nonpartisans when I did my thank yous as well. So thank you, Chris, Noreen, John, and Terry. I see that. I see them more than my family. So that's it. Senator McCrory to
Well, I think everyone been thanked. And again, I would like to say, listen, this is my 19th year here, actually my 20th, and 19 years on this committee. I really enjoy working on this committee. I honestly do. I don't know what other committees do. I don't know how they operate. I hear stories, but I tell you, this committee, the way we work behind closed doors with both staffs, whether it's Republican or Democrat, we bring all our tools to the table so that we can create great policies for our children. There's a lot of work we have to do, and there's a lot of work we're gonna do. And again, like I always say, we might sit here and have a conversation about pieces of legislation. Nothing is final. Nothing is final, and nothing will be final unless we're all comfortable when we come out here, when we make a vote on the floor. You are proud of what you're doing. You are proud of the vote you're taking. And that's our responsibility. Staff, appreciate everything you do. All of you guys, the lawyer, Chris. Just a little note, Noreen, whenever you make a mistake, just blame it on Chris. And everything will be okay. Okay.
It's kids
All
here.
right.
You can't say
Yep.
Chris.
Listen, just blame Chris, John. So with that being said, thank you for another great year, and we'll all be back next year so we can continue the great work we're trying to do for the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
With that, we are in recess. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Why don't we just?
Oh.
Because
Everyone's still in line, and I'm going to wrap up in the room first, and then I'll get to all of you in a bit.
Hi, everyone. So sorry about my delay. There's only one elevator working, so I had to wait to get back up here. Let's start with Senator Miller.
Senator Kushner was before me.
Oh, okay. Senator Kushner. You're muted, Senator. Okay. There you go. Okay. So on SB 381, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
HB 5435.
Yes.
HB 5436.
Yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And HB 5347.
Yes.
Okay, they're all set.
Thank you.
Senator Miller?
Yes, Rosalie, thank you. I'm ready.
All right. SB 381.
Yes.
HB 5435.
Yes.
HB 5436.
Yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
And I think
I voted.
have you.
Yeah, 5437, 5348, 363, and 5347. I voted on those.
Yes, you're all set.
Okay. Thank you, Rosalie, and thank you for the great job you've done this session.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right, see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Okay. I'll just go from the top of my list and down. So, Rep. Manny Sanchez.
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
He cut the line.
No, I did not.
I was just going in order of what I see on Zoom. Let's see. Okay, SB 381.
Yes.
HB 5435.
Yes.
HB 5436.
Yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
Oh, I got you for that one. HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And HB 5347.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set.
All right, for the record, Rep. Paris was the last person with his hand up.
That is true. That was true. I just wanted to mess with Sanchez.
He's the
I
last,
apologize,
he's the last
Rosalie.
person. He's the last person on the. Goodbye.
All right, next one down is Rep. Napoli.
Hello.
Hello. All right, so Rep. Napoli, I believe you abstained on SB, or you passed on SB 381. Would you like that to be
That is correct.
recorded as an abstain?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Just
Thank
wanted
you.
to make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I got you for that one. Okay, SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
Oh, I got you for that one. I think I got you for, all right, you're all set.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. All right, Rep Harris, it's your turn now.
All right. Thank you, Rosalie.
You have no idea. I mean,
No
there's a
problem. Okay. I got you for first one. So let's start with HB 5435.
Yes.
Okay. HB 5436.
Yes.
I got you for that one. SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And I got you for the last one, so you're all set.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, Rep McGee.
Yep.
Okay. SB 381.
Yes.
HB 5435.
Yes.
HB 5436.
Yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Can you tell me the title of this one?
Yeah, that's an act concerning public school libraries.
No.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And HB 5347.
Yes.
Okay, you are all set.
Thank you, Rosalie. You were absolutely amazing. Thank you for keeping us organized. Appreciate you. Good night.
Okay. Rep Gibson. Are you online? Ticket. Rep Smith. Senator Harding.
He's coming. I'm handing the phone to him now.
Okay.
limiting the ability of anyone to restrict any access to either thing. There's way more, but that's a quick overview.
Hi,
Great.
Senator.
Heather, go ahead. Thanks, Rob. Hi, sorry about that.
No problem. Let me just get through.
Heather, you there? Heather, you there?
Okay, it looks like you just missed the last two.
Sorry, I was on sound, I didn't realize it. Okay. She's not. She's not? She's talking? I think she's talking to somebody wherever she is. Am I on silent or no, guys?
Here you go.
Are you ready, Senator?
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Let me just get the list.
Okay, no problem. Take your time.
All right, so what did I miss? Go ahead, sorry.
You missed SB 363.
Yeah, I am no.
Okay. And HB 5347.
53447, I'm a yes.
Okay. And you're all set. It was just that those two.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
The email went out.
Barry asked if you could plug that.
Rep Gibson, are you there? I'll check back in a couple of minutes.
Did you call Rep Gibson?
Oh, yes.
Hi, can you go to someone else and to give me a couple minutes?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Just let me know when you're ready. It doesn't look like anybody else is online, unless Rep
Okay.
Smith is there.
I'm finishing up a meeting, so just give me a couple minutes.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, Rosalie?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Awesome. Let's see. Okay. SB 381, how would you like to vote?
Is that the one with the State Board of Education?
That is an act concerning the teaching profession and revisions to the mandated reporter requirements.
I'll go yes.
HB 5435.
And which one
That's
is that?
the State Board of Education one.
Give me a second on that one. Can you go to the
Okay,
next
we can
one?
go back to that. Yeah. HB 5436.
That's the yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And we got you for the last one. So let's go back to
Actually, how late are you going to leave votes open?
to 5, so 9 minutes left.
9 minutes left. Let me make a real quick phone call. I'll get back.
Sure.
Just give me like 2 seconds to make.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Senator.
Hi, Madam Clerk. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Let me check on what you missed. I know we got you for the first few.
Hello, Senator.
Hello. How are you?
I am well.
HB 5436, how would you like to vote?
I'm going to come back to that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. We got you for that one. HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And HB 5347.
So that one was added to the agenda?
Yes, yeah, that one is school construction.
Okay. And is that is there JFS for that or is it just as is?
There is, and I believe it was in the email that I sent out earlier today.
All right, I'm gonna go look at that. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but I'll mute myself in case you need to talk to somebody else.
Sure. And as long as you get your vote in the next 6 minutes, you should be good. Hi, Rep. Candelaria. Hi, Representative.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Okay. We'll try to get through these quick since we only have a few minutes left.
Okay.
Okay. How would you like to vote on SB 381?
Yes.
Okay. HB 5435.
Yes.
HB 5436.
Which one is that one?
That is educator certification.
Yes.
SB 380.
Yes.
HB 5417.
Yes.
HB 5437.
Yes.
HB 5348.
Yes.
SB 363.
Yes.
And HB 5347.
Yes.
All right, you're all set.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Rep. Gibson or Senator Flexer, are either of you ready to finish your votes yet?
Hi, Rosalie.
Yes.
Hi, I'm back. So yeah, for that one bill, I'll vote yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. You're
Am I
all
all
set.
set? I'm all
Yeah,
set?
you're all.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too.
I'm just trying to find the substitute language. I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem.
On the last one,
yes.
I'm a yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then, are you ready to vote on 5436 or do you still need a minute?
I'm trying to find the substitute language for that now. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Take your time.